For more than a decade, technology companies have led the stock market higher. However, some investors are worried that President Joe Biden and a Democrat-controlled Congress could harm big tech firms. Democrats have long advocated for increased corporate regulation to protect consumers, putting big tech companies in the crosshairs of any antitrust or data breach investigations. Regardless of regulatory concerns, the Bank of America analyst team believes that the technology sector will offer plenty of great investment opportunities in 2021. As the Biden era begins, here are its top internet stock picks. A Biden administration will mean more regulatory scrutiny for financial and energy stocks and probably higher taxes across the board, says Rodney Johnson, president of economic research firm HS Dent Publishing. But there will be opportunities. Infrastructure spending, green energy, and health care are all Democratic priorities and should do well under a Biden presidency. We might see much higher budget deficits and the strong possibility of inflation if there is no partisan gridlock to slow government spending. Who will have to wait and see? But in the meantime, here are the top 8 stocks to buy in anticipation of Joe Biden's presidency. Some of these are obvious winners, while others are risky investments you do not expect to win. Let's get started. Marietta Materials. Market value $22.3 billion. Dividend yield 0.6%. President Biden's Build Back Better agenda, which includes promises to mobilize American manufacturing and build a new infrastructure, is a key plank of his platform, as I stated a minute ago. Although a more accommodating Senate would undoubtedly favor Biden, he is unlikely to face much opposition on these issues. Both parties at least acknowledge the need for a manufacturing revival and infrastructure improvements. Either a divided government or one led by the Democrats would likely push infrastructure modernization and supply chain reshoring of healthcare supplies and other things considered essential to national security, according to Wells Fargo Investment Institute analysts. Marietta Materials is the next step. Marietta is a construction materials firm that focuses on large-scale construction projects. It produces crushed sand and gravel, ready-mix concrete and asphalt, and paving goods and services, among other items. If Biden's American Jobs Plan passes, it could help speed up a big increase in infrastructure spending, making MLM one of the best stocks to buy for the new administration. Caterpillar. Market value $125.1 billion. Dividend yield 1.8%. It's difficult to avoid industrial stocks like Caterpillar, the world's leading manufacturer of construction and mining equipment, if a surge in infrastructure investment is on the horizon. Diesel and natural gas engines, industrial gas turbines, and diesel-electric locomotives are all manufactured by the company. Caterpillar's equipment is definitely not something you'd like in your backyard. After all, what will the neighbors say? Caterpillar, on the other hand, is the place to go if you want to start a new construction project. For the past few years, Caterpillar has traded in a range unable to gain much traction. Emerging market weaknesses suck the wind out of those stock sales. However, something interesting happened in the year 2020. Caterpillar, like the rest of the industry, plummeted in February and March. In the rebound that followed, it not only recouped its losses, but it also broke out of a 3-year trading range. Of course, Caterpillar isn't just a parody of American infrastructure. With a global footprint, the organization could benefit from a recovery in emerging markets as well. Eaton. Market value $56.9 billion. Dividend yield 2.1%. Eaton is another broad bet on the projected surge in infrastructure investment. Eaton isn't a pure bet on green energy like some of the other best Biden stocks on this list, and it doesn't produce electricity. However, as a big supplier of electrical components and systems, it is a direct bet on this fast-growing market, which is expected to prosper despite the inevitable booms and busts we'll see in the coming years. Eaton is in charge of integrating the wind and solar farms that are springing up all over the world into the national grid. Eaton is a power distribution firm with over a century of experience. It has been traded on the New York Stock Exchange for 97 years and has paid a dividend every year since 1923. That's remarkable stability in an industry that has seen incredible changes over the last century, and it's one of the biggest selling points for Biden stock. Many of the high-flying renewable energy stocks may or may not be around in a decade. It's really the Wild West out here. Eaton, on the other hand, would almost definitely be there, providing power systems and software to the survivors and incorporating them into the grid. Becton Dickinson, market value $74.8 billion, dividend yield 1.3%. President Biden is committed to controlling the COVID-19 pandemic. He believes that once the virus is tamed, there will be no long-term economic recovery. The implementation of vaccines now that they're ready is a key part of that strategy. While it may not be fair to call this a Biden investment since the campaign for a vaccine began during the Trump administration, the bulk of it is being implemented by the Biden administration. Becton Dickinson is the next company we'll look at. Becton Dickinson & Company, a dividend aristocrat, makes medical instruments and supplies including syringes. If hundreds of millions of vaccines are to be administered in the United States alone and billions internationally, Becton and its peers must speed up the production of the required equipment. Furthermore, it is far from clear that a vaccine is a one-and-done procedure. Following infection and regeneration, immunity to COVID-19 appears to last as long as 6 months. All currently approved vaccines, it is thought, would require routine boosters. Well, that's a lot of syringes, and Becton will be there to deliver them. Brookfield Renewable Partners LP, market value $11.3 billion, distribution yield 3%. Though Biden's emphasis on environmental issues is less intense than that of many of his Democratic colleagues, the environment and sustainability are central to his agenda. According to his campaign's website, climate change presents an existential challenge to our health, cities, national security, and economic well-being, from coastal towns to remote farms to urban centers. The Green New Deal, according to Biden, is a critical mechanism for addressing the world's climate challenges. Given that Biden already has a splintered Senate, it's doubtful that he'll have a solid enough majority to push through the Green New Deal in its entirety. Even if Biden wins the White House and Democrats take control of Congress, the combined resistance from the party's moderate wing and Republicans could make it impossible to push through transformational fiscal policies such as the Green New Deal and Medicare for All, the WFII wrote before the runoffs. However, considering the contents of the American Jobs Plan, it's fair to assume that renewable energy and infrastructure are top priorities. That makes Brookfield Renewable Partners LP, Brookfield Asset Management's renewable energy affiliate, one of the best stocks to buy for a Joe Biden presidency. BEP has a portfolio of green energy properties, including wind, solar, hydroelectric, and other renewable energy sources. Brookfield isn't going to get a check from the U.S. government. However, an increasing tide lifts all boats, and Brookfield's bottom line is likely to benefit from increased investment in this region. NextEra Energy, market value $152.6 billion, dividend yield 2%. The business NextEra Energy isn't the most exciting on this list, or any other list. It's an electric utility, for crying out loud. However, unlike many of its rivals, NextEra is focused on renewable energy, which makes it interesting if Biden wins. In Florida, NextEra serves approximately 5.5 million customers. However, it is best known as the world's largest wind and solar energy manufacturer, as well as one of the world's largest battery storage companies. The company owns and operates wind assets with a combined capacity of nearly 15,000 megawatts, as well as 140 megawatts of storage. The company's focus on green energy has earned it a place on Fortune 2020's list of most admired companies, where it is ranked first among utilities. NextEra's dividend yield isn't especially high for an electric utility at just 2%. But that's the point. NextEra isn't your run-of-the-mill electric company, and you don't buy it for the return. You buy it because it is a pioneer in renewable energy and a stock that socially conscious investors are likely to be interested in. Atlantica Sustainable Infrastructure, market value $4.4 billion, dividend yield 4.2%. Consider Atlantica Sustainable Infrastructure for another green energy match. It's difficult to classify AY as a true Biden stock. Since it's a British corporation with operations all over the world, including those in the United States, it's not a pure play on America's green energy aspirations. However, if you assume that a rising tide raises all boats and that a huge wave of new green infrastructure investment would possibly raise all stocks in the sector, Atlantica is a good bet. AY owns and operates a diverse portfolio of renewable energy, natural gas, and water reserves, almost all of which are run under long-term contracts. The properties of Atlantica have an average remaining contract life of 18 years. Atlantica's properties will generate 1,496 megawatts of renewable energy, 343 megawatts of natural gas, and 1,166 miles of electric transmission lines and 1.5 million cubic feet per day of water desalination. Atlantica should have a good run under a more environmentally conscious U.S. government. Apart from the possible capital gains, the stock also offers a 3.8% dividend yield, which is lower than where we first recommended it in the fall of 2020, but still attractive. It's the kind of yield you'd expect from a conventional energy firm, not a long-term investment. First Solar. Market value $9.6 billion. First Solar is a leading solar power system manufacturer. It's also American, which is crucial in an age of pandemics and fragile supply chains. China is the world's largest producer of solar panels. However, the COVID pandemic has caused many businesses to doubt the wisdom of having a global supply chain that can break down under pressure. When you add in an uptick in anti-China sentiment, which is unlikely to abate much under a Biden administration, you have a recipe for First Solar to gain significant market share. However, the policy would be crucial in this case, as solar panels have become a commodity. Any policy that reduces demand for cheaper Chinese parts will be a major boon for a homegrown producer like First Solar. First Solar is a stock with a lot of volatility and isn't inexpensive. The stock is currently trading at 3.5 times sales and a 6.8 price earnings to growth ratio. Anything above 1.0 is considered overpriced. Looking forward to 2021, shares seem to be a little more fair with a forward price to earning ratios of 24. However, since this is still more costly than the historical average, you should exercise caution and limit your place size. If you believe Biden is serious about pushing for a greener future, however, green energy stocks like First Solar are among the best stocks to buy if he is elected president. To be sure, there are some dangers in a Biden presidency, one of the most serious being the possibility of higher corporate tax rates in the United States, which could have a direct impact on corporate earnings. However, Biden's presidency seems to favor bullish patterns over bearish ones. Markets closed at all-time highs on the day of his inauguration, indicating that this perception is common among investors. I hope you find today's video very insightful and useful in knowing what are the most important stocks to invest in during Biden's presidency. Please give this video a thumbs up and join our team by subscribing. You can also use the notification bell to receive new content on a regular basis, ensuring that you don't miss out. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and I hope to see you again soon.